Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on The Father Show. I'm your host, Mike Thompson. Today, we have a fantastic show. We've got Dr. Robb Kelly, and Robb Kelly is an addiction counselor, and I'm going to tell you, this man has walked the walk and talks the talk. So please stay tuned, join us. You don't want to miss this show today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on The Father Show. And I'm your host, Mike Thompson. And like I said earlier, we have a fantastic show for you today. We're going to be talking about surviving the emotional loss due to an addiction and how to rebuild your relationship with your kids. And Dr. Robb Kelly is a world-renowned addiction counselor who believes in treating the problem of addiction, not just the symptoms. He has worked for many years helping addictions and alcoholics to recover their lives from disease of addiction. So, and based on his own experience with addiction and alcoholism for over 20 years, he's recovered, and he is what we call a triple threat against the disease of addiction. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please welcome Dr. Robb Kelly. Dr. Kelly, how are you doing today?
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me. I'm doing absolutely amazing today. Absolutely
Thank
amazing.
you.
Thank
I'm
you so
glad
much.
you're here. It's a pleasure having you here today, and I really appreciate it, for having a guest that's coming on the show that has been so out and knowing and talking about addictions. And I know you've been on the doctor show, and you've been on other, podcasts and other shows, and you've been doing this for a while, and you really talk, and I love the way you talk because you talk so passionately about the addiction. And I know so many people out there that are struggling with addictions of different sorts. It might not just be alcohol. It could be gambling. It could be drugs. So there's a lot. And as we know in this society today, addiction is huge. So I want to thank you for being on the show and to provide your expertise on addictions and alcohol.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be here. I've been looking forward to this show for a week or so now. I've been on Oprah, been on Dr. Phil, been on the doctors, done a lot of TV, radio, podcasts. And one of the reasons why I do this and continue to do it after all this time is the miracles that happen to me, especially regarding my children, because that's one of the reasons why I do it today, to help others to realize that, okay, it's alcohol and drugs or, gambling or whatever it may be, but there's life after that, and most people I work with have lost their children. They've walked away from them, as mine did 20 something years ago. And the desperation and the abandonment on both sides, not just me, was absolutely ruled my life and devastated me. And it took a few years for me to get over and stop drinking before I could get my life back together again. But I'm here to categorically tell you, the guys, that if you have an addiction that's ruining your life and you get over it, your children will come back to you. They will. I've seen it so many times, and there's hope for everybody.
And I agree, and that's something that's important, because for the fathers out there, and we know women, get addicted as well, so we're not trying to exclude them, but we're concentrating more on men and fathers. But for the fathers out there that have struggled with addictions, and it may have even cost them their marriage, their kids, due to, when they got divorced, the court says, no, you're not a, proper parent to be raising these kids, or even, and the mother probably said something like, I don't even want you to be around the kids, because until you get your handle on your addictions, the kids don't need to be around you. And I think you have went through something similar yourself. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself. How did you get to where you are today? I mean, I know you started drinking, obviously because you're, recovering alcoholic. So how did you get to that point in, losing your family and so forth?
I started drinking at the age of 9. Well, I was brought up with a musical family, so I'm on the stage at the age of 9 playing, and all through my teens. I took my first drink at 9. My uncle gave it to me to calm me down. I was a very nervous child, so my drinking kicked off then, but it was always manageable through my college days. I was a bass player. I'm a musician, but I specialise in bass guitar, and I was a studio musician in Manchester, a little studio called Abbey. It's called Strawberry Studios, which was owned by 10cc, the band 10cc. And from there, I went on to Abbey Road. I became the bass player at Abbey Road, played with Queen, Elton John, David Bowie, all them guys. And I put myself through college. I still went to Oxford. I'm the first person in our family to go to Oxford or go to college. So my drinking was still going by then. It was a daily drinking by then, but it wasn't out of control. I mean, I could stop any time I wanted, I told myself. And then I got married, and I kind of thought that my drinking was a little bit out of control. So I swore to my wife that the first child we had, I would stop drinking as soon as he or she was born. And we had a beautiful baby girl. And from that moment onwards, that was it. I was done. Well, 4 hours later, I'm sat in the bar, drunk, and not knowing how goodness how I got there. So that went on for a bit, and then we decided to have a second child. Well, Mike, that was it. Now we have a family. Now we can really settle down, and I have to become a proper father. We actually bought a dog as well. So I had this complete family, and went down, same again, the child was just being born. I had 2 Bibles stacked up, ready to swear to my wife. And I put my hand on the Bible, and I swore that I would never touch alcohol again. So the baby was born, another girl. Fantastic. 7 hours later, I'm sat in the bar, pounding my hands on the desk saying, how the hell did I get here? And that continued. I could never stop drinking. And eventually, through some devastating stuff that I did to my children, psychologically, sometimes physically, when I fell down the stairs on top of one of them, my wife decided to leave, and she took my kids. And I remember she took my kids, and then the next day I got my attorney to get them back. And I brought them through the door, and I paid my attorney an extortionate amount of money to get them back. And I put them in the front room, and I walked into the kitchen. And I thought to myself, I just have one beer to celebrate my kids coming back. They're ages 1 and 3. They're only toddlers. It'll be awesome. So I remember opening the first can of beer. 3 days later, when the police kicked the door down because the children were crying that loud because they'd not been fed or changed diapers, wow. The police came in, the authorities came in. I was unconscious on the floor with vodka bottles strewn around me. They woke me up, kicked me to wake me up, and served me with unfit father papers and took my children away. The last thing, there's 3 things my eldest daughter said to me on the way out as the police carried her out was, Daddy, please don't go. So she's crying, I'm crying, the policeman's crying, which I thought was strange, but it was a very sad affair. And then halfway down the long path towards the gate, she says, Daddy, please get better. And then as they opened the gate to the bottom of the garden, she turned around, and this is the last thing she said to me, was, Daddy, please stop drinking. And I couldn't do it. And 7 or 8 months after that actual event, I'd lost my house, cars, I lost my kids, I lost my wife, I'd lost my businesses, my holiday homes. My parents won't speak to me. My friends had thrown me out, and I ended up living on the streets in cardboard boxes in Manchester, United Kingdom. And I stayed there for 14 months. And that's how far it took me. By the way, I'm living on the streets thinking I still didn't have a problem. That's how crazy addiction is. And of course, I'm not spoke to my daughter. Nobody would speak to me. My wife disowned me. And that's how I got to where I was. It was just crazy.
Even at that point, you still did not believe that you wasn't an alcoholic.
No, I just think I was going through some bad luck. It was just bad timing. You see, what happened as well is my crazy disease had made me do something really bad, an attack. And I went to Spain for 3 months to hide from the police. That's so crazy, God. A guy who went to Oxford who's never broke the law, who had been a policeman, that's my first job out of college, was now on the run. And I came back only when my wife swore not to press charges. because I'd stabbed her 3 times under the influence of alcohol. It was horrendous. And it was crazy days. And yeah, but still, maybe drinking too much, but not having a problem.
Yeah. Now, would you call that your lowest point, living on the street?
Yes, definitely my lowest point. I didn't think it would go any lower, but it kept getting lower. And what I find with addiction is you keep lowering that bar. You know, this is my limit, and you keep lowering that bar until finally you can't lower it anymore. And you do what you have to survive. You do what you have to do to survive on the streets, and that's what I did.
Mm. Now, how has your relationship with your kids, did you totally lose all your relationship with them, you know, when you were on the street? I'm sure you couldn't have your visitation. So how did you start recovering from that point?
Well, there was no visitation from me. My parents told me that I wasn't welcome because my wife lived next door to my mom and dad,
really?
And they told me to walk away. And because they had this in the family before, where the father kept promising to come back and never did because he was drunk. And my mom didn't want to repeat to that, so she told me to stay away, and I did. So there was nothing while I was on the streets, and for many years after, they didn't want to see me. So it was just every time I wasn't drunk and tried to get sober, the devastation of what I've done, especially the abandonment to my children, made me drink again. So I could never get sober. It was just a constant battle in my head of what a horrible person I was and what a terrible father I was. And it was just a lonely place to be.
Yeah. Now, have you started, and how old were your kids when you started, you know, rebuilding? Well, let's see first. How old were your kids when you lost them?
1 and 3. The little one was 1 and the eldest one was 3.
Okay.
So just before I came home, I saw one of them. I saw one day and one the other. I saw them twice in the next 6 months, just before I came homeless. And then obviously when I hit the streets, there was no contact, and I didn't contact them. Well, my oldest daughter, who's now 27, last year contacted me on Facebook after 25 years and said, "Dad, I've just seen you on a show, a nationwide show, and I just want to see if I can contact you and get in touch with you." So, excuse me, Mike.
It's okay.
It still makes me laugh. You know, I took that message from Messenger and I framed it. Because when I opened it that morning, for some unknown reason, I was going to the bathroom at 6 a.m. So they're like 6 hours ahead. England's 6 hours ahead from Texas, where I live now. And I just opened Messenger. I don't know why. And there's my daughter. And it was just, wow. Of course, I screamed at my wife, get up. This is unbelievable. Fantastic. And, you know, we sat there for like 20 minutes wondering what I should put. I don't want to say anything wrong. I want to say. So I contacted her and we started a text relationship. And then last year, I've been back, up to now, I've been back 6 times. And I've held my granddaughter, who's 2. And I met my daughter after 25 years. And it was just, it was like winning the lottery 10 times in a row.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
It's like my life was complete. Now, my other daughter, Mike, has still not got in touch, but she will. I know that God will bring her back. He's just got to keep doing what I'm doing, and that is helping others, helping families, and especially helping fathers to rebuild a life and to be the father they always wanted to be. Because none of us, and I didn't get up one morning and go, I tell you what, I'm going to become a horrible father and I'm going to drink myself to death. Right. I died twice on the streets and they brought me back to life. I didn't plan that. It just, you know, the addiction had me that badly that I just wanted to die. You know? And to go from there to here is just, I don't think it's humanly possible, Mike, to be where I am today from where I was. I truly believe that I have a God and he looks after me today.
Well, I'm going to say
everything I've been through.
Yeah, apparently it is, because God wasn't finished with you yet.
No, and that's what I wanted to say, you know, is like, you know, everything that I went through, Mike, it's for me now when I look back, it's like 10 semesters at Harvard University. The information that I gathered the experience that I gathered. Because when I speak to fathers today, they go, Rob, but you don't understand. You've never been lost your kids and been homeless. Check. Well, you've never not seen him for years. Check. Did you get reunited with him, Rob? Check. It's like God took me through all these things to be the person I am today, to pass on to the other guys who were there where I was, that was hopeless and desperate and suicidal, to go to them and go, well, look, here's the truth of what happens when you do this. It's not in a book. It's not, someone whispering, or if you do really good, your kids might get into it. I'm here to tell you categorically, this will happen. Yeah. Because we're going through this for a reason. And if you can survive that, then your life will take off.
And that's the key. I did this show and I started the nonprofit organization because really God told me, they didn't ask me, he told me to do it. But it's because of what I went through as a father and going through a divorce and, losing. I didn't lose my kids or my daughter because of an addiction, not on my end. The addiction was on her mother's end. And her mother kept my daughter away from me as much as she possibly could, simply out of, anger. And so I know fathers that are trying to rebuild their relationship with their, kids. It's hard. And like for you had an addiction. It was even harder for you because you had the addiction. You were the reason why you didn't have a relationship with your kids. So yes. I know as a man that wants to be a part of their kids' life, that's hard, and that's hard on your heart. What made you start? Did you reach out to them, or did they, did your daughter? I know she reached out to you. Have you tried, since you gotten sober, have you tried to reach out to them, or you just totally stay away?
No, I started to reach out when I'd heard things, and I saw a couple of them on Facebook. They have private accounts. There's only one or two pictures, but I knew they were getting older and maybe make their own decision. But I tried to contact them, but I heard nothing back. And then mom would get involved. Her mom absolutely detests me, and rightly so. That woman was an amazing mom, and she kept them kids away from me because I was a danger to myself, never mind anybody else. So I would never get on and say, my wife kept him away. It's her fault. I hate her. No, I was totally insane with the disease. So even though I tried to contact them, and every single contact came with every single heartbreak. Yeah. So the more I tried to contact and didn't hear back, the less I wanted to contact, until the last probably 6 or 7 years, I'd just given up completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was heartbreaking. I mean, it was literally every birthday, every Christmas, I'd sit there, and nobody else knows going through this, but I'd sit there on the birthdays and I'd just cry and cry and cry. Yeah. And I used to speak to God and say, why are you putting me through this? But you know what I did, Mike? For the last 20 years, I aggressively started working with fathers. I aggressively started working with alcoholics. I aggressively started reuniting families. And I've been doing that for 20 odd years. It's not just about the alcohol and drugs for us. But that's part of it. God told me to guarantee that everybody I work with will recover from alcoholism and addiction. I've recovered from it. End of story, period. It was going further than that. Let's get the families back. Let's get the divorce papers off. Let's get families reunited. Let's get families sat at the dinner table eating together. Let's get people going to church on a Sunday together. These are the things that I teach today. It's not just the drinking and drugs. If I don't do that, I'll give you $1 million. That's a given. God's told me that, and it's always happened. Never failed at doing what I'm doing. But there's more. It's like, I wanted the compulsion to drink to be taken away. And Mike, when that happened, it was phenomenal. But it doesn't come anywhere near to that message I got that morning from my daughter. And that's what I want every father to realize, that this is possible. No matter what you've done or how far down the scale you've gone, it makes no difference. If you're prepared to put the work in, the end result is almost guaranteed that it will happen. Because we're not bad people. We're not bad people trying to be good. We're sick people trying to get well.
Yeah.
When the alcohol and drugs and the gambling and everything else that's put in there, when that is addressed, and when you straighten out physically and spiritually, everything comes back.
Now, is there something that you can tell fathers that will head them off at the pass if they're going down that road?
There's a couple of things that you need to really ask yourself some serious questions. Is first of all, you must remember that childhood is here for a short period of time. Whatever you put into that child from birth until 12, 13, 16, 20, whatever it is, that's how they're going to react. Do you really want them to follow your footsteps if you doing the same as I did? That's the first question you ask yourself. But secondly, never lose hope and always keep contact. Send them letters. If this is you in my position, that's the only thing I regret is sending the letters, because they will keep them. And one day when they know, no matter what the situation is, when they open that drawer and there's 200 letters of dad, and they will contact you and they will look back and you have never forgot them. That's the most important thing to children is you might have been gone, but you didn't walk out.
Right.
Something happened that made you walk out. And it's important for children and teens to know this, that you didn't walk out. Something happened beyond your control. Yes. On them. Yes. And that you're going to always be there for them. And it will mend itself.
Yeah, because they're going to feel, if you don't keep in contact with them, they're going to feel abandoned, like you didn't love them. And you still did, with your daughter, did she ever think that you didn't love her more than the alcohol? Or have y'all even got to that point to discuss that?
No, there was a point where I did love alcohol more than them. And we both talked about that. But there was also a point where I'm a little different because I'm high profile in what I do. So you can Google me or you'll see me on TV. So she would always follow and go, wow, that's my dad. And she'd hear me talk passionately about losing my kids. So especially the last 10 years. So my daughter always said to me, Dad, I always loved you and I knew you always loved me, but you have a disease. Now, here's the crazy part. So for the last 18 months, I sent her back to college. I paid for her to go back to college. And now she is a neuro-linguistic programmer. She's a counselor dealing with addiction and abandonment of losing your father. How crazy is that? So when she graduated, which was about 2 months ago, I was the proudest person in the world. It was like father, like daughter. I was just, and every time I think about it, it's like, what else can I do for the father out there? How else can I tell them that it's going to be okay, guys? It really is going to be okay. Do what you've got to do. Get yourself some help and believe in a higher power. Believe that there's something up there in the universe that's got a better plans. I was at the top of a building one night and I was drinking a bottle of vodka so fast and I was ready to jump off. And I remember taking the first step. So I've got one foot on, one foot in mid-air as I'm finishing up this bottle and I'm going into blackout. I woke up somehow on my back, on top of the building, on my back. I fell backward, not forward. Don't tell me there's no God. That's what I tell to people. It's impossible. It's impossible to do what I do and be where I am today with my kids. It's impossible. It's humanly impossible to do that. End of story. It's humanly impossible to be where I am. I had to have God's help. And when I asked for his help, I've got to tell you this, Mike. When I'm on the streets one morning, it's pouring down with rain. It's about 2:30 in the morning. I've got no shoes on my feet. Somebody stole them when I was drunk the night before. I dropped down to my hands and knees and I started to cry from my belly. I started to cry. I looked up to the sky and I said, if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. My life changed 20 seconds after. And I'm here today.
And how did it change?
Guy walked around the corner and missed his last bus home. He'd walked 4 hours in the rain to get home. He had a small Bible in his hand. It was a back street of Manchester. It wasn't on a main road. He walked down and he said, hey, buddy, you need some help? And I said, yeah, I'm dying. And he took me back to his house and he let me shower for the first time in 6 months. And he gave me some clothes. And he said, God sent me to help you. And I was like, yeah, of course he has. Of course he has. Yeah, right. And then my journey started from there. He got me into a halfway house. I got my first job. And that's when I made a pact with God. I told him if I ever got off the streets, I'd spend the rest of my life working with fathers to reunite with the children and completely solve the drink and drug problem. And that's what I've done. And people think I'm crazy, man, and say, you can't guarantee anybody can recover. Well, that's what God told me to do. And then 5,500 people down the line over a 20-odd year period, I haven't seen anybody fail yet. So this isn't my program. This is his
Excellent.
program.
Yeah.
You want to argue with him, not me, I tell people.
And that's the key. I mean, it's not your program. He's working through you.
Yes.
And it's really, you know, I love what you're saying, and I understand it wholeheartedly, because like I said before, for me to do this is I'm taking the experiences that I had as a father. And, you know, I used to look at God and I had some serious conversations with him, and to let him know that I was really kind of pissed off because I was going through this stuff when I didn't even think I deserved to go through this.
Yes.
But as the Bible says, he will use it for his good.
Yes.
And we go through things, and this is for the other fathers out there. You may be going through things, but it's going to be for his good. You just have to, this is just a little season that you may be going through. But you can come out of it, and you're going to come out of it the better. You might not understand it now. You might not know why now, but you will. And I can see with you, this has really gotten you to where you are, and you're going to help a lot of fathers. And I'm so glad that you have, you know, come on this show so that we can talk to fathers. And is there anything else that you would like to say to a father that is addicted to, you know, alcohol or drugs or what have you?
There's a way out, guys, and there really is. What you're going through now is education and information for the future. Yes, you may have a disease. Yes, you can get over it. The guy that found me on the streets took me to a meeting the next day, a 12-step meeting. Whilst in there, I met a guy, white beard, white hair, very affluent. Well, I looked very affluent, very distinguished. He took me through the book. He called it his second Bible. And I walked to that man's house once a week. I walked there. It took me 3 hours to get there because it was 18 miles away, and 3 hours to get back every week. I did that for 8 weeks, Mike. And he showed me stuff in the Alcoholics Anonymous book that referred to miracles happening. And he taught me this stuff. So after 8 weeks, I come back. I knew I'd never drink or use again. I knew my life was going to make meaning. I got my first little part-time job. I went to the gas station. I bought him a little teddy bear and a card. This guy changed my life. He introduced me to God for the first time. I walked back to the man's house, as I've been doing for the last 8 weeks. There was nobody there. I knocked on the door, and the next door neighbor come out, and I said, "Can you tell them where John's gone to?" And he said, "There's been no one in that apartment for the last 6 months."
Wow.
So after she closed the door, I went round to the other door, because obviously she's crazy, and I knocked on that door, and a guy came, and he said the same thing. "I've been living here for a year, and there's been nobody in that apartment for a year." I didn't have the wrong address, Mike. I had the right address. Wow. So what I'm trying to tell guys out there, there's somebody watching out for you. There's somebody going to take you to a place beyond your wildest dreams. And you will, if you follow the dictates of your God, you will be reunited with your children. I personally guarantee, because God's guaranteed me to tell you that.
Well, all I can say is amen. That is amazing. And I know miracles happen. And I know we have angels and people watching over us that we don't even know about. And, you know, we go through life so busy that we forget to take a look at the miracles that are happening in our lives and the things that are happening in our lives. So, you know, these fathers that are out there, and I'm telling you, you know it. And I want our fathers to know just how important they are to those, you know, to your kids. They need you, regardless of what anybody else has ever told you. Those kids need you. They need you in their lives, and they are missing you. No matter what you may think, they are missing you. And they want to know, just like Dr. Kelly said, they want to know that you didn't abandon them. You haven't forgotten about them. And I, you know, Dr. Kelly, I used to tell, I always told men, I don't care what, even if you don't have access to them, send them a card, a letter, or something, just so they know that you haven't forgotten about them, that you just, didn't think the new kids or the new wives or your new life is better than them and you don't want to have them a part of them. Let them know that you still love them in whatever legal way that you possibly can. I think that's so important.
It's very important. Like you just said, stepdad, more kids, whatever it may be, your children, you're the father, you're bonded for life. That bond will be there. I can tell you now, there's no more devastation you can do to a child than abandon them. That abandonment will go through till the day they die, and they will suffer from that. Don't make that happen, guys. Send that scrawny letter on the back of a piece of paper, slip it under the door. But anything you can do legally, do not give up on your children, because they need you, and you will always be in their mind, and you will be reunited, and you'll be so glad that you did that. I made mistakes by not sending the letters. Don't do the same as I did, guys. That's why I'm here today, to make sure that you don't make the mistakes I do, but the end result will always be the same.
Well, Dr. Kelly, that is going to be our show for today, but I want you to tell the audience how they can get a hold of you. If they have an addiction and they need to talk with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, robbkelly.com, as you can see, ROBBKELLY.com, will take you to my website. All the phone numbers are on there. You can Google me. You can jump on Amazon. There's a book there called Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. Remember the last thing my child said to me? The book's on there. All my numbers are in there. And if you're sat there and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, but he's a doctor, he lives in America, he must be amazing and fantastic and not got time for me. If you're a father out there going through what I went through, here's my personal cell phone that you can call me. It's not going to cost you anything. Let's have that 15-minute conversation. I will tell you categorically that I will change your life with that 15-minute conversation. It's 214-600-0210. That's my personal cell. You won't get in touch with my assistant. You won't get in touch with my staff. Let's me and you have a chat. It'll be worth it. I'm telling you guys, that's my guarantee to you. Call me.
Wow, that is fantastic. I mean, that is huge, and I really appreciate you giving your phone number so that men can call you and get in touch with you and get the help that they may need. And that's what this show is about. And I know that's what you are about. So thank you so much for being on the Father Show. I know we're going to reach a lot of men, and I'm hoping that your phone blows up with men that needs your help. And so their family and their kids can benefit from them getting sober, getting, back to a normal life, as you can say, if they're addicted to something else. But that is our show for today. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being on our show. And Dr. Kelly, and I'm going to tell you, it's been fantastic to have him on the show. We have been, talking back and forth. And when I saw him, I wanted to have him on the show because I know that there are men out there that get addicted to drugs and to alcohol and what have you. And you don't want to let everybody know, but you need to reach out for some help. So you can reach Dr. Kelly. He's given you your number. I'm going to have it on the screen as well. You can also go to thefathershowwithmikethompson.com, look under resources, and you can find resources there in your state that can help you get the help that you need. But you got Dr. Robb Kelly. You got him. You got his number. There's no reason for you not to contact him because your family needs you and they got to have you. They need you in their life. And people, please don't forget to subscribe. And while you're there, click on that bell and so you can get notified for every show that we have, and we have one every week. And most importantly, if you know somebody that really needs to hear what Dr. Robb Kelly said today, please share it with them. I don't mind. Share it. Let them know. We want to get the word out. We want people to know that they can get help when they need it. And when you go to the website, we don't know you're there. We don't have any cookies on the site, so we don't have any clue that you've been there and that you've used the resources. So go, there's no excuse. All right. You also leave some comments down below. Let us know what you thought of the show. And I think you will be blessed tremendously to have reached out to Robb Kelly and let him know that you needed your help. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for today. Please come back next week when we have another fantastic guest. And in the meantime, stay safe and God bless.